Hey guys, Brooke and Laura here, and welcome to Lawyering Outside the Lines. This month we've been spending a lot of time talking about getting in the right mindset, being really intentional, or whatever that it is that you need to do for yourself and your business this year. Just kind of taking a holistic approach and setting yourself up for a really successful year. But we are all in the business of law to make money. So today we're shifting our focus a little bit to some more substantive topics. And today we will be discussing alternative fees a little bit. Mostly what we're going to be focusing on are flat fees with a little bit of subscription thrown in there, because that's what we do here at MyVirtual.Lawyer. And anyway, so yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the traditional way that we all learned how to practice law, and that is billing by the hour. We hate that as lawyers. Our clients really hate it for many reasons. I remember when I was a brand new associate having to do everything by 0.6, and it was so miserable. And most of us would go back at the end of the month and try to fill things
Your life is measured in 15 minutes.
Exactly. It's, don't take a bathroom break, because then that's 15 minutes that you could have billed for. I remember getting in so much trouble for walking to the fax machine because I had an assistant to do that. Just little things like that. But one of the bigger things to kind of pay attention to is not just that you hate it, but your clients really hate it. And when we're talking about these alternative options for billing your clients, it's going to make your life a lot easier, because you're not going to have as many fights about the bill and as many questions. You're not going to waste time talking about why you charged X amount of dollars for research or phone calls or whatever it might be. So a couple of things specifically that will make your life easier with not doing the hourly billing option is you don't have to chase those client fees. So you send that after your retainer is exhausted, and you send, or even when you're still billing off of it, you're having to send out those kind of monthly invoices or whatever however often you send out invoices, and explaining the fees to your clients, chasing the client fees. Once your retainer is exhausted and they are supposed to be paying you for any of the bills that you send out and the invoices that you send out, how many of us have to write things off because the client refuses to pay for it, or they just don't pay for it?
So how much are you
general.
actually even making? I mean, if you set your billable hour on this is how much you need to make, and you're setting it based on that, but then you're, collecting half of that, you're not making your full, worth or what you're wanting to make.
Exactly. And, the large thing, a larger kind of picture is, we all want to spend less time doing our work so that we can enjoy our lives. That's kind of a good goal, I think. And hourly billing kind of focuses on time and not efficiency. Oftentimes, if anybody has ever been involved in kind of a nasty court battle, I don't know about you guys, but and I think Brooke has too, often thought about my opposing counsel. All they're doing is trying to run up their billable hour, because this is a waste of client money. This is a waste of energy. They already know the answer to this. What's the point? That kind of thing. So we're going to talk about ways that you can focus more on efficiency, still make a good amount of money for your representation for your clients, and not necessarily have to spend a couple hours at the end of the month trying to chase clients down, trying to fill out your timesheets, whatever it might be. So let's talk first about flat fees. We have a lot of knowledge about that, because that's what we do here at MVL. When I say MVL, I mean MyVirtual.Lawyer. Along with our MyVirtual.Lawyer for attorneys. So flat fee, a lot of people, I think, have a negative thought behind it. It has a negative connotation, and I think that's a misnomer. It is not a low bono service. We are very specific when we talk about our billing model to clients. We don't necessarily use low bono with clients because they don't understand that. But when we're talking about it to other attorneys and about how it's a really good option for you, and it's a great option for us because this is what we do, is we're very specific about it not being low bono. We do not discount our services to make them cheap.
Right, our experiences, and I agree with you. I think that's what it is. I think a lot of times people think affordable equals cheap, or you're on the lower end, so either, you're not going to be respected, by other attorneys, or you're not going to be trusted by clients because you're more affordable because you're flat rate. But that's not the goal of flat fees.
Exactly. Brooke and I even we're members of a lot of different Facebook groups, and we even had somebody have a fun little message this last week that said something like, remember, the least expensive is usually you get what you pay for kind of thing.
The individual is asking for reasonable fees, and the cheapest is usually the worst. Remember
that's and so of course we both had to bite our tongues and not be jerks on there to say, look, we're not the cheapest. We've actually had experiences where we've had a client that was quoted a lower price for full representation services. We happen to be limited scope representation with our flat fees. They were quoted a lower price, and they still hired us because they liked our transparency. They liked our communication.
Convenience.
It was more convenient for them to go with us, and so they still went with us, even though we were a higher price than a full representation attorney.
Right.
So don't think of it as low bono. That's something I think we're all going to have to, fight against for a while, but that's fine. For attorneys who don't want to do that, that just means there's more money for us. For those of us who understand that flat fee, especially in a limited scope environment, that flat fee is going to improve your client experience, improve your experience with representation.
Well, it's client driven. A lot of the drive to look at alternate fees is clients are demanding transparency.
Yeah.
They want to know what they're paying. So, they're demanding those things, they're pushing these changes, and they're, expecting you to meet them where they're at.
Exactly. And with that flat fee, Brooke has mentioned a couple of times that the word transparency. Clients are going to fight you and waste your time every step of the way when they see an itemized bill for specific things that you've done to justify your $250 an hour, $300 an hour and up. But when you have a flat fee going into a representation, whether it's a family law case, an estate planning case, a tax case, whatever it might be, then the client knows automatically, here's what the fee is. Here's what your additional cost might be to a third party, the court or someone like that. But here's what you're going to pay us. This is all you're going to pay us. Then you don't have to have those discussions and that kind of back and forth with them. So that transparency is key. Before they even enter a relationship with you, they know exactly what they're getting and what they're paying.
And it's more efficient use of your time to not be going back and forth with the client as well.
Yeah, and a huge thing for us, for attorneys.
Hi, Dina.
Hi, Dina. I think I need to accept a Facebook friend request from you. I'm very bad about looking at that list. So sorry. A huge thing for attorneys as well, and we all have experienced this, is unpaid bills. We kind of talked about that a few minutes ago with chasing after clients to pay their invoices. When you're talking about flat fees, even if you're setting it up on a payment plan, then you are you're reducing any of your unpaid client costs. So we have been in business now, MVL has been in business now for 4 years, and we have had 0 outstanding invoices. And that's because, again, exactly. People are very surprised when they hear us say that when we're doing, CLEs and talking about alternative fees and virtual law firms and things like that. They're very surprised to hear us say that. But when you are transparent up front, and this is, they know exactly what they're going to pay, then there's no fighting over that invoice at the end of the month. Well,
and I'll add too, a lot of times people think that their attorneys think that they're going to lose money if they're offering flat fees. But, if you're getting 100% of what you're billing out, you're making that money. If you are out there setting out, kind of lost my train of thought a little bit, but that's kind of the gist of it. Attorneys usually think that they're going to lose money, and they're not going to lose money on flat fees, because sometimes if you are billing somebody by the hour, you're going to bill at a lower rate than what you would at a flat fee, but people are willing to pay that flat fee because you're transparent about that and they know what they're going to pay. I mean, I know for myself as a consumer, I would rather know what I was going to pay than have some kind of variable out there and no control over that, and then get a bill at the end. And so I'm willing to pay a little bit more for that transparency.
Exactly.
And clients are too.
Exactly. And even like we're based in Arkansas, even in the state of Arkansas, one of the things that we do is help self-represented people with divorce and family law issues. Even in the state of Arkansas, the average divorce can cost between $12,000 and $17,000. We are not a rich state. And so when somebody walks into your office and you say, hey, give me $3,000 upfront for a retainer, and it could be that you pay this much once this is all final, the idea of having to budget for that is very overwhelming for a client.
Well, and one thing that's overwhelming on the attorney side, and we get asked a lot about, and the attorney partner firms that we have that we work with, we help them through this, is setting those flat fees, because none of us, you know, we get overwhelmed, and it's a kind of a guessing game. You don't want to overprice yourself, but you don't want to undersell yourself. So where's that sweet spot? And I will say, that, you know, there is one, but it's going to vary. So I can't tell you exactly what your sweet spot's going to be. But if you're going to try to set a fee, don't necessarily look at what everybody else is doing, all the other attorneys are doing. You need to look at the market, look at your clients. You're going to want to look at the practice areas that you're doing, and, you know, what is reasonable for that, what's competitive for that. The demographics in your area. We have a partner firm attorney in Colorado. Her demographics are greatly different than our demographics here in Arkansas. So she may have things on the higher end of our scale than we do. So that's going to matter. I mean, if no one's buying it, you can't sell it. So you have to meet your clients where they're at there. And then don't, like she said, don't necessarily discount yourself. We like to pass on the savings because we are more efficient. So the savings by using technology or our processes and procedures, we do pass along those savings to clients, but we still value our experience, our expertise, our time. So value yourself. Another thing that we do that we found very helpful is that we set up payment plans, and they're recurring. You have to be on a recurring plan where it's auto drafted out if you do that. But setting up payment plans breaks it down. Even if it looks a little bigger, you break it down for the client on, you know, their schedule. It's easier for them to manage, and then you end up having, you know, more satisfied clients.
Exactly.
And then, you know, one thing that I can say, as far as, you know, that's not as variable, I guess, about fees, is what you need to decide is how much do you need to make, how much do you want to make, subtract your costs from that, and then you can kind of say, okay, this is the flat rate, which with flat fees it's a little easier. This is the flat rate. I'm going to charge $1,500 for every divorce with kids. I need 4, you know, divorces with kids to make what I, you know, need to make after costs are taken out every month. So that's a kind of a very basic way to figure out how you're going to set your flat fees. And I said we'd touch on, we're a little bit over our time, but I said we'd touch on subscriptions a little bit. Kimberly Bennett is a wonderful resource. She's in Atlanta, and she is my go-to person to ask anything subscription related. But we actually offer subscriptions to our business clients, and we found that business clients are kind of a sweet spot for us because we kind of serve small and mid-sized businesses, and those individuals cannot necessarily afford in-house counsel, but they still have important, you know, legal needs that need to be met. Either they're, you know, neglecting them completely, or they can't afford them, whatever. So subscriptions is another way to have a recurring source of income, which kind of helps you through the dips of your law practice. And so one way that you can set that up is, and we kind of have played with ours and we are still in the middle of trying to figure out our subscriptions. But one thing that we found is, and that we're revamping, is it's better to give fewer options. And I know that sounds weird, but we're narrowing ours to 3. So I recommend 3 options. And then the way you display them on your website, or if you have any materials, however you put that out, that you put the one that you want to sell to people in the middle. For some reason, people go for that middle. So that's a little tip if you're doing subscriptions. But yeah, so really brief on subscriptions. We could probably do a whole nother show on subscriptions when we might, but that's kind of an overview of thinking outside of what, you know, we normally do as lawyers, how we bill to clients, how to make our lives better as far as billing, how to make our clients' lives better as far as billing goes. And like I said, if you need some help with subscriptions, Kim is our go-to girl, and she has a mastermind that she does, so you should check that out.
Exactly. So just to recap kind of what we talked about today, we're talking about alternative fee options, alternative fee models. We don't have to be stuck to the hourly billing. We honestly, as a group of people, as an industry, we really need to be moving away from that, because the clients are forcing it, the clients are demanding it.
Right.
So we talked a lot
better,
and it makes our lives better. Exactly. So we talked a lot about flat fee subscriptions. You know, it's not lo bono. Don't undervalue yourself. we didn't kind of mention, but we've changed our dollar amount a few times over the years. So things happen. You might need to get a little bit more, Dina, thank you. Subscriptions and fixed rate are the way to go. Exactly.
Absolutely.
I haven't done hourly billing in so long, I can't even tell you. So,
Right.
So the the flat fees is just a great model, the transparency and everything, but don't say, $1,000 it's going to be that way forever.
Yeah, you can move, and that's when people don't like to we put our prices on our website. You don't have to do that, but we do it again for transparency purposes and because we know our prices. So a lot of times it's a range because we have attorneys in different states and they bring them all to the website. So it could be a range, but it's okay to do that, and it's okay to move. It's okay to say, okay, well, it's really worth more than this. And nobody's been turned off because we've been flexible and pivoted when we need to.
Exactly. And with subscriptions, that's a newer area for us that we're learning about too with Kim's help in Atlanta. But that's a recurring income. Who doesn't want that? Because, law firms just in general, we take retainers, we bill our flat fees. So look into that option too for whatever your practice area is. For us, it works for business law, but there could be other areas that subscription models could be beneficial. So that's kind of a recap of what we talked about today. And then that's the end of January, where we've had a lot of kind of focus on just being mindful, kind of reviewing your practice, seeing where you can tweak things. And our discussion next week, if you join us next week, which it will be, I'm going to start with Central because that's where we are. It'll be 12 o'clock Central time. That will be 1 o'clock Eastern,
11 o'clock Mountain Time,
10 o'clock Pacific. So next week on Tuesday, which is I have no idea. It's February 5th,
maybe?
Sure.
We don't know what date it is. Probably the 5th.
We'll go with the 5th. It's Tuesday, 10, 11, 12, 1, depending on what time zone you're in. And we'll be talking more about kind of our experience as being a virtual law firm. What does being a virtual law firm mean? And what are the ethical considerations behind a virtual law firm? That's going to vary based on your jurisdiction, but we'll talk about that a little bit more next week. So we hope to see you next week. And thank you for everybody who joined us. And we hope you have a good rest of your week.
Bye.